Guys, Jen George. Today I'm here with Charles from the Florence app. Charles, take two. Who the hell are you?
Yeah. Hi guys. Hi. My name's Charles Armitage. I'm one of the co-founders and now CEO of Florence, which is a marketplace that connects healthcare professionals direct to healthcare institutions within the UK.
Awesome. So how did you guys get started?
Gosh. So background to Florence. So before I started the business, I was a doctor. So I was working in a bit of emergency medicine and general surgery, and saw a lot of the problems to do with temporary staffing within healthcare in the UK. So alongside my co-founder Dan, who kind of, I guess, comes from the other side of the marketplace. So he has a background in banking, was in the army, but most recently is the chairman of some nursing homes around the London area.
Yeah.
And we kind of both arrived at the problem from different sides of the coin. So I would occasionally do these temporary shifts as a doctor and realise the process.
So going to ask you Grey's Anatomy again just to get that story in.
Sorry?
Just to make sure you get that story in again.
Which story?
Yeah, so many Grey's Anatomy. I'm sure you get a lot of doctors' questions in Grey's Anatomy comments.
I do get a lot of doctors' questions. Yeah, we've talked about this before, so I think I know where she's going here. I do get a lot of doctors' questions. There was one case recently where someone in the office had some testicular pain.
Just to make sure you get in trouble again.
Yeah, had some testicular pain I had to deal with, but that was fine. Everyone found that quite amusing. But and actually my co-founder Dan recently broke his foot, so I had to playing football with his son. So so that was nice for me. I got to look at X-rays and things like that. But so was a doctor, saw a lot of these problems. You know, I would occasionally want to pick up extra shifts here and there. It was terribly inefficient. I'd have to phone up a recruitment agent who would charge, who I knew was taking a huge commission and providing an incredibly inefficient service, no emphasis on making the right placements, the right matches, the accountability or quality of the staff that they're placing as well.
And the candidate experience, I'm sure.
Candidate experience was terrible. Yeah. So, you know, for example, I'd on a Wednesday afternoon be like, I don't have much to do this weekend. How about I pick up a couple of shifts to get some pocket money? And knowing that there was a shift down the road in my local hospital, I'd phone up my agent and they would say, oh, well, you know, we've got this place in Wolverhampton or somewhere else across the country, and you'd be shipped there and never paid on time, never paid the right amount. You'd turn up on the shift. Actually, on the shift, you'd potentially be treated quite badly because there's a bit of animosity between full-time staff and these temporary workers that come in because they know that they
second-rate citizens.
Yeah, kind of. So you know, there are all these problems with things like handover. Like you turn up on a shift and no one would show you, you know, the cupboard with the drugs in, or
handy.
You know, so it was you kind of starting on the back foot really. Anyway, I divert a little bit, but terrible user experience on my side. And then Dan, my co-founder, who was managing this nursing home, was short of nurses and ended up having to go to these temporary agencies to get more nursing staff and pay massive amounts of money. Typically, the commissions to these agencies are 50 to 100%.
Crazy.
Mainly to just cover their overheads of running a business that's based around picking up the phones to individual nurses and dealing with paper timesheets and running, you know, manual payroll processes and all that stuff. So, and it's last year in the UK, something like 5 billion was spent on temporary recruitment, of which, you know, about 2 billion is going to these agencies. So there's a lot of space for improvement there.
Definitely.
And ultimately, the more money you kind of save from the providers, the more money the staff can get paid. I don't think they get paid enough. And also more money can be saved that can go back into patient care. So that's kind of what it's a win-win
for the whole community.
What we're in it for is really to make sure the staff are benefiting, and then ultimately, if you've got to have staff, you've got to have patients at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And so, from idea to actually getting, you know, your first person to sign up, you know, how did you guys go about that process?
So myself and Dan, we had absolutely no experience of building a tech product at all. So we approached it in what, in hindsight, looks like an unbelievably ridiculous way. So we put in a little bit of money to start off with. And then we decided we needed to do all these 100,000 things of
to make it even possible to go forward. You need every feature.
Yeah, we need every feature. We need it, you know, next week.
A mini bar fridge.
Yeah, exactly. And then we kind of went, I think it was like Upwork, something like that.
Yeah.
Someone somewhere said, "Oh, I'm willing to build this product for you for this small amount of money in this very small amount of time."
Too good to be true.
And we're like, bingo. Yeah, it was too good to be true. Obviously, it didn't work at all.
Shocked.
At all.
Yeah.
So we kind of banged our heads against the wall a little bit, trying to get that to work.
Yep.
And then we kind of scrapped it.
Yep.
Like, kind of almost developed the concept of an MVP ourselves because we didn't have any money left anymore. So I went and got a Google Sheet, and we found 4 or 5 nurses that we knew. And I printed off a list of all the nursing homes, and I just went around knocking on their doors and said, I've got this idea. And then one kind nursing home owner said, we'll give it a shot.
Great.
And then, so we literally started off with a Google Sheet, and they would put their shifts on it every Monday morning, and then the nurses would come in and fill in their availability.
Yep.
And then Bob's your uncle.
So you were the very, very intrinsic algorithm that was matching people together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
And, you know, and I remember and then that was when we got our first taste of, so tech was difficult. And then we got our first taste of like the operation of it. So, you know, everyone will, you know, you're dealing with a kind of a human business.
Yeah.
You kind of try and make it transactional and commodity wise, and it's a tech product, but actually you're dealing with people, and you know, people's cars break down or their children go sick, life happens, and then suddenly one of your clients who you've worked very hard to get doesn't have a nurse on a shift. And actually, apart from just potentially damaging a relationship with the client, there is a risk to the residents and patients that are in that home. So we were kind of shocked and getting progressively more and more used to how high stakes the game is. So, you know, there are companies out there like Deliveroo and Uber who offer great service and don't want to lose any of their customers. But, you know, if someone's meal gets delivered late, you know, that's it.
They can give them $10 credit.
Exactly. You know, if we fail and our transaction breaks in some way and the nurse doesn't turn up, then
people's lives could be at risk.
So it's that was nice getting a taste of that, because that's now like our life is trying to make sure that we de-risk as many of those aspects of the transaction as possible.
Definitely. And obviously hindsight's a fantastic thing, a couple of bumps and bruises along the way.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know now, how would you approach that first, 6 months of getting, or however long it took to get those first people signed up?
Yeah, so I think
not going up work by the sounds of it.
Not going up work. You know about how to develop an MVP, decide exactly what the most basic and core functionality that you need from your product is, and then test it. And then the other thing that everyone says, but do things that don't scale. So, you know, it worked well at the beginning because we had a very small user pool and we could be on the phone to them every single day, driving them to shifts. And on Christmas Day, we were driving them to shifts and all that kind of stuff. And when it does fail, when things break, as they always do, at least then you've kind of got that relationship to fall back on, and you can kind of try and smooth things over. And so we kind of, that mantra of, you know, doing things that don't scale, we lived off that for quite a long time. And we still live off that to some extent, but at some point you have to kind of try and start shifting the balance towards, you know, having tech solutions to these problems. And that's kind of one of the stages we're in at the moment, where we're still trying to have a very, very human, customer-centric business, where we are very visible and present within every engagement. But at the same time, we know that, you know, when we 10x our volume in the next, you know, hopefully few months, we can't continue to provide that. And how we can have
across the country.
Exactly. How do we have? I mean, we've stopped driving people off the country across the country, but how we kind of have scalable ways of
it's important
of keeping that human touch point, but doing it in a way that's a bit more scalable.
Especially to keep your unit economics in check, because if you put your tank of fuel every time against one candidate.
Absolutely. So we left that kind of bit behind us a long time ago, but, you know, still pick up the phone in the middle of the night when things go wrong, and you know.
Unfortunately, sometimes the startup space is glamorized, where, you know, people suddenly wake up one morning, this business is completely fine, it's at scale, you're all good, you don't have to drive people across the country. And what are some of the really tough moments that, you know, Christmas morning driving somebody to their shift, or, you know, what are the things that actually happen behind the scenes that maybe new startup founders aren't exposed to?
That's a good question. So I think one of the funny things I encounter a lot is, especially within this industry, you go and sell it to care home providers or healthcare institutions, hospitals, and almost everyone's mind goes, "I thought of this idea. This is this is why did I was going to do this 2 or 3 years ago," and I was like, "Good for you, mate. Try doing it." Doing it because even a very simple idea that, you know, just matching supply and demand of someone's labour is the operations in it are difficult. There's no two ways about it. The execution is really difficult, and you think you're obviously, it is the most important. Florence is the most important item on my agenda, and the most important item on the agenda of everyone in my team. But you go, especially into a healthcare institution, where there are a lot of things going on, a lot of very important things going on. This really falls down quite low down their list of what their priority is day to day. So trying to get people to
try and bribe them with pizza. That's what I find.
Try and bribe them with pizza. What do we bribe them with? We don't really bribe them with anything, actually. Maybe we should do more bribing.
Bribing what? No, don't bribe. I'm lying.
But yeah, so that it's just the challenges associated with just dealing with this human capital, human resources is quite big. But then there are steps you can make to kind of governance within your platform to make sure that you're encouraging people to behave the way you want them to behave. Really. And I think we are actually achieving that. So one of the other things that again, very basic idea that both parties rate each other after a shift, and you see that in a number of industries. That does improve people's behaviour because they know they're being watched. I rigorously clean Airbnbs when I'm leaving them, and I don't leave remnants of my party from last night there.
It wasn't a party.
And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with this. That if even for like a hospital, if they know that they're having a welcoming, as we say, a member of staff into their hospital for a shift, rather than treating them as a commodity, just make sure that they introduce themselves properly, show them around, show them where the drug cupboard is, and bingo, if you do those basic things right, everyone has a better experience for everyone.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So if you can try and drive some of those behaviours with the product, that's really important.
And how does that behaviour then translate into your team? We're just in your office, a lot of people, everyone's heads down, bum up kind of attitude, which is great. Awesome to see. How do you keep that culture going when there's obviously a lot of balls in the air?
It's difficult because I like to think that everyone's really, everyone's pretty galvanised behind the mission that we're on, and it can at times be quite stressful.
Yeah.
And as you say, there are a lot of balls in the air, and people can be a bit stressed by that. And it's important to make sure that even when you're really stressed and shit's hitting the fan, every time you're engaging with one of your clients or customers, or one of your users, you're still maintaining that like customer-centric attitude, and nothing's too much trouble. And we try and get that message home quite a lot. And I'm guilty of it as well. I can be in a foul mood and not give the best service I possibly can. So it's just important to remember. And the other thing is as well is as we see it starting to build and it's working, and there's revenue coming in and there are transactions being made, and that's really great to see. Well, none of it would happen unless you had the customers there and the users there. So even if they do something that annoys you and behave out with the boundaries of what you want them to behave, how you want to behave, they're still paying my bills at the moment. So you gotta be humble with that. Humility is one of our cultural core values, actually.
What are your other core values?
There are 6 of them. Do you want to go through them?
Someone in your team seeing they're going, I hope you remember this.
Yeah. It's just about customer devotion, being accountable, always learning, always using every day to do the best you can.
What do you look for when you're hiring them?
What do we look for when we're hiring? That's a good question. I think the ability, it's one of the things about this industry is that there is a massive kind of medical recruitment industry.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people that work in that. We've interviewed a few people from that industry, and I don't want to tar everyone on the same brush, but you see a lot of people coming in, they've got fixed ideas about how things should work.
That's a good point. Do you go tech background or do you medical background?
Well, this is the thing. So we initially were like, we should get some people from the industry and see what happens. And just often in the interviews and just talking through some of our problems with them, you got the sense that they were, and you can't say that anyone's fault, but they're kind of focused on how things are done right now. So actually, we don't have anyone from a recruitment background. And I think that's really important that we've, our CMO Buni, who's
awesome,
very, very intelligent chap, and I think he's probably one of the driving forces behind the business. Actually, He
also thinks outside the square, just doesn't have that fixed view on how it all needs to happen.
Absolutely. And there's a massive recruitment crisis of nurses in the UK at the moment. There are just not enough of them.
Yeah.
And he's approached it in a completely different way. He's not seeing us onboarding, getting nursing shifts as a recruitment function, he's seeing it as a marketing function and a customer success function.
Yeah.
And it's kind of taking a slightly fresh approach to the problem that I think has been really good. So I've really enjoyed seeing, bring together technologists and engineers and marketers and customer success experts, and then kind of using them to create a new discipline rather than this recruitment model.
Yeah, you're not wearing a tie, so
no. So I think, what's the most important thing for me? It's kind of a reflection of our values, really. So it's continuous learning. It's humility, and ability to kind of think outside the box. And that's a bit of a cliche, but
it's easier said than rather done, right?
Yeah.
You guys seem to be really playing in that space, which is great.
We try. Yeah.
Otherwise, the marketing's really working that you're playing in that space. Right?
Yeah. There's no volume at all. It's just an empty product. What else do we look for? That's about it, really. We're nice people.
That helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like work. I really like the people we work with. I think they're great people.
Yeah.
It means I enjoy spending, all the time in the office if I spend there.
Especially when you spend most of your time there.
Yeah.
We hope so anyway.
And I like to think that they're not like me. Like, that whole thing about don't work with people that are like calm and confident of yourself. I don't think everyone's very different. They come from very different backgrounds.
Experiences.
But they're all still nice people, and they're good fun, and they're all very clever, and that's, I think, very important.
That's great.
Yeah.
And how do you then compete against other startups? Because there are so many in this space who are trying to hire, whether it's engineers or marketing or whatever. How do you make sure that you have that edge when you're recruiting?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's really difficult.
You're like, I'm not telling you the secret sauce, people.
It's difficult. How do we make sure we've got the edge? I think it's. I do like to play on the culture a lot that we have, because I think that's very strong. And I like to make sure people meet as many of the team as early on as possible and bring everyone into the decision-making process.
Yep.
But there's a lot of good stuff going on here. So getting talent could be hard. Yeah, definitely. It's one of our main challenges at the moment. Actually, is kind of growing, scaling is making sure that we're getting the best people.
Yeah.
Not what's the word? Substituting. Getting people.
Somebody quicker rather than the right person. Yeah,
exactly. It's always tempting to do that.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So, marketplaces have massive challenges, whether it's talent or funding or whatever, but supply and demand is one of the greatest challenges.
Absolutely.
What are the sort of metrics that you guys look at? How do you guys do this currently?
Yeah, good question. So so Florence is pretty hyper-local. So we have a lot of insights about how far these nurses are willing to travel for shifts in different areas.
Yeah.
And then we kind of split this matching problem, which is really all our business is bringing the right people together at the right time. Kind of split it into two different parameters.
Yeah.
One is a product and platform side of things, and one is this liquidity. And I'll talk about liquidity because I think that's the important thing. That we say if we take an area and we kind of go, for example, London at the moment, we're pretty comfortable that we've got a fairly liquid market in London at the moment.
Yep.
And then we look at how the dynamics of the shifts are filling and how long it's taking and how many of them are successful, how many liquidity failures you get, and with the assumption that there's enough liquidity there, we can then take all the rest of the failures as like a platform problem. Yeah. We're not necessarily showing people the right shifts at the right time, or doing notifications in time, whatever it is. There's a list of 1,000 things to improve. Once we've kind of removed those as a factor, we then need to basically look. It's difficult. So we basically take. Within an area, we look at a few key metrics. So obviously the number one, like North Star, is our shift fill rate. So if a client needs a nurse, if they post a shift on the platform, what is the chance that that's going to get filled? And we have kind of certain temporal parameters in that, so it has to be within a certain amount of time, and with an appropriate applicant. And that's kind of our headline metric, and that's when we have a big thing on the board going up and down. And then we kind of split that out into a few other things as well. So we have metrics on how point locus of where the shift is.
Yeah.
We then define how many sort of nurses we have in the area and
the potential
yeah. pool. But there's complexity in that as well, because you have nurses that are registered but not kind of completed the onboarding process. Yeah. To remove those nurses that have completed the onboarding process, but are maybe not engaged and not active on the platform, and
we're not targeted, etc.
Yeah, we're not sure how to deal with those, and we need to be better at making sure they're doing the right thing.
Yep.
And then we have our kind of pool of like really active nurses who we know are working. They're logging in Florence every day and checking for shifts.
Yep.
And we have different ratios of how we kind of measure what we think the optimum volume within a market, within an area is.
Yeah. Awesome.
But then it gets worse because in London we go we've worked out that people travel on average, let's say something like, it's not this, but something like 5 miles to get to a shift.
Yeah.
You translate that to the Yorkshire Dales, where people travel 50 miles for a shift.
Yeah.
And it's trying to overlay some of that geographical data with travel time
predicting
data.
What they're willing to do.
Yeah.
Versus how much they're actually potentially going to get paid. So
exactly.
they might travel more for the higher paid gig versus.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it still doesn't all add up. Yes. So, and then we can't come up with a nice neat number and go, we can
42.
Yeah, 42. we got it. But the other thing is that because there's so much choice on the platform, you choose where to work, and homes have these ratings that are agreed, and there are different specialties and different skills.
Do you give people homes up if they're a low rating? Or? We never got there yet.
It's pretty self-selecting actually.
Yeah.
So we have certain rules about who we kick off if they're displaying kind of like certainly dangerous behaviour, both nurses and homes. So, and if that's kind of, we have different things that kick in at different times. So, someone kills someone, then
that could be fatal.
We probably make a decision there and then. But if you're getting sort of repeat patterns of poor experience from either side, then we start to move them. But what's interesting is, you'll get, let's say, some nursing homes that just sort of grumbling along slightly below the normal.
Yeah.
Don't do anything really bad, but no one has a very nice time there.
Yeah.
It's quite nice because that kind of self-selects. So if they're getting these consistent, slightly poor ratings, well, actually, nurses don't choose to go there, and they drop off.
Yeah.
We want to, it's not about having these ratings. It's not about making a stick to beat people with.
Yeah.
We're not trying to.
Just trying to show them where there's opportunity to grow.
Exactly, and it's about trying to get people to kind of all just pull their socks up.
Yeah.
Like, be a bit more accountable for what they're doing, and realise that in the market, people have so much choice these days, and people if they don't want to work somewhere, they need to work somewhere. So it's kind of up to them to make sure they're providing a really good working environment for people that come and work there.
Yeah, definitely. So from a CEO point of view, having a management style that's always pushing people to learn and be curious, how do you make sure you're doing
that? Good question.
Who manages the manager?
Well, no one really. Well, the board, theoretically.
That's helpful.
How do I keep learning? It's difficult to find time for that, and I'm a real podcast junkie.
Yeah, which ones do you listen to?
I like all of them.
Which ones should the listeners listen to then?
Probably. Well, how I built this is obviously great. I love that.
Yeah.
If I'm ever feeling a bit sort of down operationally, that we're kind of trying really hard and
not getting the results.
I do